Hello, my name is Vickie Mounce Ramey. I'm the third and final member of Group 6, and I'm going to be analyzing a speech given by General Colin Powell at High Point University commitment ceremony in May of 2015. This speech is a combination of a special occasion speech and a persuasive style of speaking. The general occasion speech was obvious because it was a commitment ceremony, and they were there to celebrate, the graduates of that class. Dr. Julianne Scholl wrote in her article, a special occasion speaking. You could also refer to a special occasion speech as an epidactic oratory. And it met several of her requirements, making it that special occasion speech. His speech provided practical and memorable advice to the graduates. There was a layout, a pathway, beyond that day, beyond that education. He charged them to use their wonderful education to choose something they like to do, to choose something they do well, and stick with it. And a combination of the three would give them a map or a pathway to a future of success. There was aspects for a good life. He gave them tools. He gave them ideas. He charged them to help one person, to help their society, to help their nation, and then again in turn to change their world. The persuasive type of speech was used to call and motivate the audience, to motivate that graduating class to do something, to provoke positiveness, to promote goodwill. The introduction was very creative and clever. General Colin Powell walked out onto the stage after he had been introduced by the president of High Point University, and he had been, built up with all of his titles and his achievements, and he walks out on stage, so his credibility was there waiting for him when he got there. He already had his ethos waiting because of his title, because of his position. He took that and he quickly shifted that attention away from himself and diverted it towards the family and towards the staff there at the graduation. And this tactic was there to create an intimacy with the audience. And it also showed his character. It showed that, it was a ploy to downplay his position, to make him take the attention away from himself and put it towards others, to recognize the sacrifice that had been there, for those graduates behind the scenes, those people who don't always receive, gratification or receive attention when needed. There was a relaxed mood there, and at the same time, he magnified the work, he magnified the success, he magnified the sacrifice of everybody involved. He continued to gain the attention of everybody there by telling a funny story. And that funny story revealed his human side. So he also built his credibility there, so that he could be seen as a peer and not, that he could show his humble beginnings. It showed that he was human just like everybody else. It showed that he hasn't always been a general, that he started somewhere else just like everyone. And this set the stage to launch into his presentation, to the body of his presentation, so that he could give his charge, he could give his challenge to this group, to this graduation class. The thesis wasn't stated outright and boldly, but we knew going into it that it was a commitment. So we knew that he was there to celebrate that class. He was there to provide, advice, that he was there to give a path. He was pointing them in the right direction and to call them to action. The body of this speech was very well organized, and at this point it started to transition. The original speech in the beginning, the introduction, was an impromptu. That's what made it so relaxed. But at this point we become more formal, and therefore we follow a manuscript style delivery. And you can also tell there was an increase in the seriousness of nature. So we were hooked at this point in time by that introduction, and now he had to feed us, with this body of his speech. He used examples, he used personal testimonies, both to reinforce his speaker credibility, and it also gave him proof that he was a professional with personal experience in what he's speaking about, that he wasn't just a celebrity there to entertain for the day. There was also a transition in going from special occasion speaking over to his persuasive style speaking. His persuasion, he used a 5-step sequence, a call to attention. There was a need to grow, there was a need to find satisfaction, there was a need for a vision, and there was a need for that call to action to go forth, that charge. This was all presented and made possible to everybody there. There was nobody left out that could not have fallen into the group he was speaking to, no matter where they were. And that's what made it so relevant, not just in that day, but also it was relevant in today's society, and probably something that actually would be good for us to hear again, especially after the past several months that we've been through in our nation. The central idea, we found purpose beyond position and money. He told them to find that satisfaction, not just sit around and complain, but go do something about it, to serve others, to serve our society, control our own future. He told them to contribute to their own success. He also, in that central idea, he used a realistic approach. He covered every genre of person there that day. This was a major reason it's so noteworthy. The focus was broad. There was no excuse or no reason for anybody not to be successful. The positive outlook of it all was he told how great of a nation we live in, how great America is, and how we can continue that, how it always has been and will be as long as that group and groups past them in the future continue to follow this same path. And it goes beyond, that very person in that very day. And the conclusion was obvious in its approach. It felt like he was building up this challenge to us. It felt like we were marching up to a pinnacle. And it wasn't that he left us hanging. He didn't leave the audience at a cliffhanger. He actually left it on a positive note. He left it like it was positive in fact that they could go out and conquer. They could do this challenge. They could meet to this challenge. And the memorable statement was to go forth. That's what really stuck out. And at the end, he said, "Good luck and God bless." In his delivery, it was very appropriate. Expectations were met, and in my opinion, they were surpassed. Overall, it was an extemporaneous delivery because in the beginning was impromptu, and then it transitioned over to a manuscript-style delivery. There was control throughout the whole presentation. The audience had already been analyzed. He picked up on High Point University. He talked about flattering statements he gave about the university. He also recognized important people, both there, behind the scenes, the staff, the president, and everybody. So you could tell he had already analyzed his audience. He used proper grammar and he enunciated well. There was no distraction, no slang, no movement, inappropriate mannerisms. He had confidence and was strong, but wasn't overpowering. He allowed himself to be humble and his humility to show through in his delivery. And he was very to the point. He remained on task and he completed his speech. Overall, I feel like this was a very effective presentation, both to anyone at that day, and it could be used in this day to promote some positiveness toward a group of people. And that completes my analysis of General Colin Powell's commencement speech for High Point University. Thank you.